Look at a survival trip. Tostitos. What now? Surviving like a boss, bitches.
It's our last meal. So I made sure I had bacon.
Here at the Pine Project, we're making some money for some kids. That's what we do every day. Breakfast and champions. We are heading yonder into that tree. No, beyond that tree.
All right,
Put my stuff in the canoe now.
we're ready to go. The wind is blowing. All right, what are you putting in?
What does it look like? Sticks.
Primitive arrow.
Primitive man purse.
Ooh.
Taking the man purse with me. This right here is camera stuff, as well as an emergency kit, which has a first aid supply in it. It has a phone, just in case. Maps and compasses, just in case. Those types of things, just in case.
Okay. Alright. Got the liver. Got some dog bait for cordage. Coyote hide. No, we're gonna need a coyote hide. And here I've got my bow drill kit, basket, primitive knife, a couple of pieces of buckskin, a couple of pieces of natural cordage. Bow!
Is that a real bow?
Real bow!
But what's in that buckskin bag? Well,
Chocolate bars.
you'll just have to find out later.
Alright, so we've arrived at our destination lake after much paddling and bushwhacking. Took us a long time to get around to the other side of the lake where we wanted to be.
Oh, what's that? A deer! A deer!
Yeah, so this is pretty nice hardwood forest up here. The other side of the lake is mostly hemlocks, conifers. So we're looking at this clearing in here as our shelter area. We're about to get started. I'm going to be working on getting some water for us while Aaron starts to build the frame of the shelter.
Last night, Mink and I were out, and we came back in.
We got hit by a crazy, unexpected storm, and our shelter wasn't ready enough, so there were a lot of factors that led up to it. We left around 10 a.m., so I was kind of dragging my feet, and here Aaron was like come on, let's get out the door. We gotta make sure we have enough shelter. I don't want to be shivering tonight. I was like, it'll be fine. We'll just huddle around a fire and it's not gonna rain. Eventually we found the lake. And so Aaron started building the structure of the shelter. And by that time I was starting to develop a pretty painful migraine. Just have a super intense migraine, so bow drilling is like, ouch. And I decided to work on getting a fire so that we could boil some water. Because I was worried about dehydration and the migraine getting worse and too much like physical overload. So usually at that point when I have a bad migraine, I like lie down in a dark room and go to sleep, but instead I was like working away at the bow drill and collecting firewood and getting hot rocks and building a basket and carrying and heating water. And it's funny the way a real physical challenge forces you to face your mental demons. And one of the ones that came up for me today was this story in my head that's like, if I'm not giving my physical, like everything I physically can, then I'm not giving enough. And I realized today that that's just a story that I created for myself, and it's not necessarily true. And I actually have the choice of how much I want to give. And so it felt really good to say, you know what, that's actually not in line with what I want for my experience for myself tonight. I don't want to push myself to my physical extreme and like throw up because I'm in so much pain.
And it's challenging when half of your team is down, because there's this part of me that wants to persevere, stick through it, and clearly I could see by the situation, all the factors involved, that we needed to come back because our actual lives depended on it.
So the shelter was leaking and the wind was cutting through it when you could see light through some of the holes, and so then it started really raining pretty hard, and like we took off all of our warm layers and put them in the shelter to stay dry, and we were out in like our underwear trying to stoke up the fire and do more rock boiling,
and it rained all night. It was one of the craziest rainstorms I've ever seen.
Okay, first stage of hypothermia, I'm shivering. Next stage, I'm shivering uncontrollably. Now I'm sort of like mumbling to myself. Now I'm getting really scared.
Identifying that things are becoming a critical situation versus in a dangerous situation is what I learned from this, and having to say it's time to go.
And I'm so glad that we were able to make that call, because it's not the kind of situation where we had a medical crew on hand, like if anything went terribly wrong.
And navigating back in the dark, there's all kinds of emotions that come up when I'm sad or tired, or just dynamics with whoever I'm with, and dehydrated, because they all come to call, and personal demons all start to surface, and it's just staying in an upright mind state to get home and to be safe. Like even the journey home, coming home in the dark, lots of things could have happened, injuries, but none of that happened. We were able to get home successfully.
It was a crazy journey back, and we did it, and that was awesome. In the middle of the night, actually it was about 6 a.m., I got up, and the wind was just howling and whipping through the trees outside, and I looked outside and I was like, man, if we were out in that would be cutting through our shelter and like cooling our wet clothing, and we'd probably be in a pretty bad situation.
So I'm just grateful that I was able to find learning value in that, because otherwise it could be perceived as being defeated, and I don't perceive it as being defeated. I perceive it as learning something.